You're listening to CX Passport, the show about creating great customer experiences with a dash of travel talk. Each episode, we'll talk with our guest about great CX, travel, and just like the best journeys, explore new directions we never anticipated. I'm your host, Rick Denton. I believe the best meals are served outside and require a passport. Let's get going. Today, I get the pleasure of talking with Sharon Boyd from the UK. Sharon is the CXO of MKL Innovation and is a widely recognized voice of wisdom in the CX space. A top CX influencer, Sharon recently was a key contributor to a new book release, Customer Experience 3. I specifically love the honest voice that comes out from what Sharon writes and says. You sense a true heart for the customer and really for humanity in general. Oh, and if that wasn't enough, Sharon is in training to be a pilot. As listeners know, I love the chance to talk with folks from around the globe, and today we are in for a real treat. Sharon, good morning to you and welcome to CX Passport.
Hi, thank you so much. What a lovely introduction. I really appreciate that. Thank you, Rick. Lovely to see you again.
It's great to see you as well. Hey, I want to come right out of the gate with a post I saw of yours that I really loved. In it, you mentioned a gift you'd received and how valued that made you feel. What was the story of that gift?
Wow. Actually, this was a really lucky week for me because I ended up receiving 3 completely out of the blue gifts in the same week. So when I wrote that post, it was actually about 3 different people.
Interesting. What a nice week to have.
That was amazing. I was like, oh, wow, I don't know what's happened in this week because I don't normally receive gifts, but I'm definitely a gifter. So I really feel the power of that. When someone takes the time to gift something to me, I massively appreciate it. And I think it's hugely powerful in the CX space. But yeah, so I'll share a little bit about each of the gifts, just a tiny bit. So
Good.
One of them, I had a really down week the week before. I really struggled. And, when you just got too much on and you just go, oh, I just feel a bit overwhelmed. Well, one of them was a really lovely book, and it's like full of illustrations about fox and I think a rabbit and a horse, but all just like they're all different characters, and it's just such a lovely book. But the message behind it was just really heartfelt, and I just thought, do you know what? That just really meant quite a lot to me and really cemented how I felt about that working relationship with that other person. So that meant a huge amount to me. The other one I received was a congratulations gift for finishing my MBA. And because the MBA landed a little bit flat because we're doing remote lectures and it's going to be a whole year until we physically do our proper graduation. And the full MBA process was just meant so much to me because I never thought I'd get to go to uni after, because I took my year out and then got a mortgage back when I was 18. I kind of thought parked forever. So to finish that and that person sending me that congratulations gift meant a lot because it was just that nice close off to go, well done. So yeah, I really appreciated that. And then the other one was actually, it was a gift of some candles from a client, just to say thank you for all of our hard work. And yeah, it means such a lot when you get a thank you gift or you get something that says, I really appreciated what you did. And it was really personal, the way that they'd done it and the message as well. So yeah, I was just, when I wrote that post, I was just reflecting on for 3 very different reasons I received those gifts. And I just thought the power of gifting is so often just missed. And each of those just really cemented those relationships with those people and brought them closer to me. So yeah, I was just thinking, purely from a CX and EX point of view.
So that's interesting. So it does sound so special, and it really made you felt almost this human connection. So I'm curious, how have you seen that sort of gifting in just the customer experience world in general? Is this just a B2B sort of thing, or where else have you seen it in the CX space?
I've seen it. I've seen it a fair amount. It can take many forms, can't it? Gifting. It can be an actual tangible gift like those 3 that I received
Right.
that particular week. I mean, it can be, we always say feedback is a gift, but sometimes just a compliment can be a huge gift. But the real tangible gifts that you can see in front of you, the most powerful is when they're really tailored and personalized to you, when you know someone has taken the effort to really think, what would Sharon or Rick like? What would mean the most to them? And if it's something as well that's, to do with their goals or is to help them go in the right direction, even better. But no, I would definitely say it works just as well B2C, and we employ that a lot in our business. We send out little gifts here and there to people, just to thank you or well done, you did a tremendous job.
Right.
So yeah, we think it's hugely powerful.
It is. When I've either received a gift or had that opportunity to give one inside the corporate world, obviously inside the personal world, right? We know the world of gifting, but in that corporate world as well, it's interesting what the reaction is and how that is. Now I'm thinking about kind of how gifting and celebrations go hand in hand. And so much of a customer culture at a company comes right from employee culture, right? It's almost a cliche at this point that you can't deliver better customer experience than what you provide in employee experience. So, celebrations and elevating great CX, it really doesn't have to be big or expensive. And you and I were talking about our CX origin stories, just each of our stories. And you mentioned a 10 pence CX celebration item as part of your story. Tell me more about that.
Yeah. So back when I was in the world of retail, before I really moved properly into the CX space, I was working for this brilliant company, and we did a customer hero day, I think it was, but like a whole day just purely focused around our end customer. And I was running I'd say a stand, but it wasn't really a stand. I was outside of my van because I was being a driver for the day. And I was out there with my uniform, and it was hilarious because one of the tasks that they had to do, everyone in the office, and there was about 3,000 people in at this event. They had to go out and have a selfie with a driver. So there was a whole queue of people queuing up outside to get a picture with me. just random. I felt very special for a little while. Lots of random pictures of me out there. But yeah, so at the end of that event, they said, oh, now we're going to announce our first ever Customer Hero Award. And it was presented by the exec team. Everyone was watching over the balconies and down the bottom, and it was me. And I was so blown away by it. But yeah, there was a band, and it was like a plastic silicone, I don't know, it was a plastic band basically, which was grey. But it was the whole point of it was that it was the top band that you could get, and they'd obviously bought them in mass and that, but it said Customer Hero around it. It was the first ever one, and I just loved the way they'd got the exec team properly to do it. They took photos, they had a certificate. It just meant a huge amount to me, and I've still got that band. I mean, it, as I say, probably worth very little, but to me, someone who's so customer driven, to win that award and be given that band just meant such a huge amount. It didn't need to cost anything. It was purely about the symbol of it.
I love that. I love kind of the simplicity of it, but also the depth of it, right? So it's simple, but it's deep, and it's getting at the heart of, what is missing in a lot of companies, and that's making the employee feel special. It didn't have to be expensive. It didn't have to be this, massive crystal award or anything like that. But it was more just the fact that you were acknowledged, that they recognized what you had done and made you feel special. Now, I've got to imagine, did that carry forward then throughout kind of how you felt about the company and your role there? And did you see that influencing the culture going forward?
Yeah, because at the same time, we were doing projects around bringing together the values of the 3 main group companies. And one of them, we'd really, mainly me, because I was on this team, I kept saying one of them has to be customer obsessed. It has to be. End up being customer first, but that was enough for me. Let's just make sure that at least one of them is really customer driven. But yeah, even the fact that they had this whole event, and I think it was the first event, and had really bought a lot of the the frontline customer piece into that head office, the fact that I was standing out there with that van that the customer sees, that goes to their house and drops off all of their products. There was loads of other stands inside as well. It felt really big, and it really stuck with me because I thought, this means a lot to me. This company really cares about the end customer. And that's why when I look back, I mean, obviously everyone has their difficulties in every company, but I really look back at that particularly. I'm happy to say who they are because I think they were amazing. Argos.
Shout out to Argos.
Yeah, definitely, because I just really loved how they really celebrated that, and having the exec team standing there going, we are really behind this. This is the first customer award. And that really created that kind of FOMO piece of, oh, I want one of those bands.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, really then encourage people to nominate other people and go, oh, yeah, I think you're amazing. These are great behaviours to celebrate. And just started off a whole sort of rolling process of celebrating customer behaviours or customer-centric behaviours.
Love it.
It was good.
Absolutely love it. Now, there's another sort of customer centricity story that I've seen you talk about. And let's talk about that infamous substitution for your Valentine's order. From a CX perspective, what happened there?
Okay, so I decided I'd use Sainsbury's, and I thought, do you know what? I'm just for convenience, I'm going to add the Valentine's card on there for my husband. Not normally something I do. Normally go and choose, and yeah. But I thought, okay, well, that looks a fairly decent one. I'll order that one. Anyway, the morning of the delivery, I had an email through saying, "Oh, I'm really sorry, we've had to make some substitutions." Okay. And one of them was this Valentine's card, and I thought, okay, wonder what they're going to, which one they're going to send to me instead. And then I looked down and realised they'd substituted it for greaseproof paper, and I thought, okay, I'm not sure my husband is going to be thrilled with that when I say Happy Valentine's Day. Here's a roll of greaseproof.
Who doesn't want that? That's a special gift.
Yeah. So it really just made me laugh, and I thought, I think it was a weekend, and I thought I'll stick that on LinkedIn because it's just hilarious. And obviously there's a CX piece in there as well about kind of just, attuning your things like your substitutions to something close to what your customer is going to want. But yeah, I mainly put it on there for the comedy value. And I really loved the response. Sainsbury's, again, I'm happy to say who they were because they responded fantastically. And also that was probably my, when sometimes you write something just off the top of your head, that went the close to viral as I've ever gone, because I had so many responses. Some of them like, oh, that's brilliant, that's hilarious, that's made my day. But also ones going, oh, I had something similar, this happened, that happened. Yeah. But as soon as, literally within about half an hour, Sainsbury's responded and went, oh, could you just give us the order details? Because we just want to check the algorithms behind the scenes. We're really sorry this has happened, and we want to fix it. And I was like, yeah, gave them the details. So I put a note onto my LinkedIn just to say, I've been contacted, Sainsbury's are all over this. And that was liked so many times by so many people. I thought, actually, just that bit that they've responded shows me how appreciated Sainsbury's are from a customer point of view, because it's that feedback. And then a little bit later, someone else from Sainsbury's messaged me through LinkedIn, said, again, really sorry that it's happened, but I work in the card department, and I wondered if I could send you some different cards for you to choose from so that you do actually have a card for your husband on the day. And I said, oh yeah, that'd be brilliant. But yeah, she popped it all in she put it all in red tissue paper to make it all lovely. There were 6 different cards in there, from quite lovey-dovey to fairly standard, you're all right sort of thing.
Depends on how you feel that day, right?
Yeah, so I can pick, depending if people enjoyed me. But what was really lovely is she'd used a blank Valentine's card, and she'd written, dear Mrs. Boyd, really sorry this has happened. We're looking into it. But hopefully one of these will do the trick. And because she'd handwritten it inside a Valentine's card as well, she'd found a blank one so that it didn't say, I love you, Mrs. Boyd. But yeah, I just really appreciated the fact that she'd done that, the handwritten notes, the fact that she'd completed my mission as a customer. She'd given me a card. There were several of those I could have chosen. And that meant I didn't have to go and do a trip out to the shops to find one or make one out of greaseproof, as a lot of people suggested that I should do. Yeah, and when I went to collect my order, because it was a pickup, it made me laugh because the greaseproof paper actually had a load of hearts on it. It was just the design of it. So I don't know if somewhere in the algorithm it's heart, I don't know, but I could kind of see where it connected. But I just really loved the customer response to the way that Sainsbury's responded to me, for two people to come and deal with my issue. If they'd have thrown money at me or something like that, yeah.
Right.
But the personalized way that they dealt with that, I just really appreciated it. So it's a really good story. Well done, Sainsbury's.
Yeah, and it hits at a principle that I love. It's a Disney phrase that I've used, I've picked up, and actually have experienced as a Disney guest probably a decade plus ago. But they don't focus on fixing issues. They work to restore the relationship. And in your story there, it sounds like there was a way to fix the issue. Oh, we're sorry, Ms. Boyd. Here's a new card. We'll send it to you overnight. Oh, great. That would check the box. You'd feel, But they seem to go into truly restoring your relationship, and I can hear the warmth of how you're even describing the way you feel about the brand today, and really focused on, hey, my relationship is restored here.
Yeah, I mean, we often talk, don't we, in CX about the chance of recovery, of how that can take a customer who's had, a fairly stable relationship with a brand, and then they hit a dip and they go down. But if you really lift them up and give them an amazing experience, how actually their then experience goes, I need to go the other way, goes higher than it would if they'd just continued on that stable. Oh, it's really weird doing this on camera, wrong way around. But yeah, it's it can really make a difference and really link you and make you really loyal to that company. And that's what I felt like with Sainsbury's. Before I was just like, they're all right. But yeah, now I'm impressed, and I'll obviously talk about them, which I am today.
That's right. And now we're amplifying them today. Fantastic. Love it. Little change of pace here, though. Join me here in the first class lounge. We'll move quickly here and hopefully have some fun.
Okay.
Dream travel location from your past.
I went to the Maldives for my honeymoon. Ooh. Absolutely beautiful. Was very aware that probably when we got to our 50th anniversary, if we ever made it there, it would probably be underwater at that point. Yeah. So I was very much going, okay, let's one time only chance potentially, let's live it.
It's definitely on my bucket list for sure. So speaking of that, a dream travel location you've not been to yet.
Oh goodness. I'd love to go to the Middle East and just explore. Yeah, I'm not really sure what that looks like, but yeah, just all you hear about the amazing customer experiences that there are over there in certain areas. Yeah, I'd love to experience some of that, watch some of that, and learn from it.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. Favorite thing to eat?
Cream eggs.
Maybe just one hair louder. Favorite thing to eat?
Cream eggs.
Ah, very good. There it is. That almost sounded like a guilty pleasure, but no. There's no such thing as a guilty pleasure. They are all just pleasures. But on the flip side of that, what is a thing your parents forced you to eat, but you hated as a kid?
Carrots.
Ah, okay. I'm getting a lot of vegetable theme in that question, by the way.
Yeah. My dad used to buy massive bags of carrots. And there were 6 children, so you needed to buy in bulk. Sure. But it was all the stories of you'll be able to see in the dark and all the rest of it. None of our 6 children, obviously all adults now, or our own children, eat carrots. So you can see the knock-on effect over the generations.
Oh, that's fantastic. All right, one travel item you will not leave home without.
Well, normally one of my children gives me a little animal of some kind to take with me. I'm not sure I have a choice, so I just always say, oh, thank you, that's lovely. But yes, there's always an item that goes in my bag from one of my children.
Oh, I love that heart connection to the home. That's fantastic. The nature of CX Passport is to weave CX and travel together, and I find both inform each other in particularly compelling ways. Given yours and MKL's focus on innovation, what are some of the innovative travel experiences you've had?
this isn't one that I've had, but one that I've seen really
Okay.
recently, and something I explored when I was working in an airline. So one of the issues is boarding. So when you look at look at the customer satisfaction scores and kind of put it back to the customer journey, boarding often comes out as really low. And we
Yes.
looked at that when I was working there to see how it could be made better. And there was lots of different models. Actually, you do this model, you board in strips, or you board all the left first and right, all sorts of ways to do it. But very recently, I think it was on LinkedIn, I saw something that I really would like to see. Obviously, we're all in lockdown at the moment, but
Right.
I get to try it, and it's. Let me see if I can do it justice by explaining over the. It's like it's basically a light that shines across the floor.
Okay.
It moves, so it sends different zones onto the floor, and then passengers can see like 33C, 2A, whatever, and they stand in their seat zone. And as
Okay.
they board, it moves with them. And I presume that it's got some kind of algorithm which then works out what order they need to sit, they need to stand in to get them most
Oh, yeah.
efficiently on the aircraft. But yeah, I thought that was quite clever because I remember when back then looking at all different kinds of technology and do you have a board which calls them out? How does that work? What if you've got a child who is sitting, who's on the right, but actually their parents are on the left, so they're not boarding till way later, or you've got a vulnerable passenger who needs somebody with them and they're in a so it was kind of like, okay, it's not very straightforward, but I quite liked how this would work, and it's very simple. So yeah, that's what I like.
I think I've seen is it kind of a magic carpet. So lights are coming
Yeah,
down,
that's
and
it.
there's like a gamification almost to it. Or they could gamify it that there's all sorts of alerts or something if you're successfully standing in your space, and if you're not, then there's a comical shame to it or something along those lines. I love that, and actually I would love to try it as well. What a weird thing for you and me to say here is that we really want to try boarding an airline sometime.
Yeah, just see how that would work from a passenger point of view, definitely.
So taking that a little further, so I know you've had some experience in the travel industry and specifically, passenger airlines, and I'd like to get a bit of an insider's perspective. It's an industry that has a massively wide spectrum of approach or even just interest in customer experience. This was true before the pandemic. It seems to remain true today. Why do you think there's such a divergence in CX approaches with the airlines?
I think some really just go, do you know what? We're not going to be passenger focused, and we're going to do this on purpose because you come to us because we are cost driven,
Okay.
because we're going to keep the cost low for you. We're going to be upfront about this, and we're just going to be a low cost airline. If that's what
Hmm.
you want, you fly with us. And then
Hmm.
there's others at the other end of the spectrum that go, do you know what? If you're not price driven, you will have an amazing experience with us. But we are so passenger centric that you'll have the best flight of your life. And there's such a huge difference between those two. You
Hmm.
get some that kind of try and do both.
Right.
um I would say where I would prefer to fly because I can't afford to be at the high end
Right.
just yet. But yeah, there is a huge difference, and I'm really interested to see what will happen now in an industry that has obviously very much suffered after the pandemic, and what they do. So when I was at the airport this week, I had two very different experiences, but what I'd never experienced before was having a cabin bag that I had to pay for.
Ah,
um,
yes. Hmm.
and they said to me at the time, this is a new thing, and actually our airline was the third one on the list. All the other low cost airlines have already done it, we were the last ones. And I was like, wow, why this is quite a big thing. What it meant for me was I got to the gate and they charged me £50
Oh
to
gosh.
take my cabin bag on.
Hmm.
And I was like, but no one's
Right.
told me. She's like, well, you should really have known. I thought in a place where you've got a completely empty plane, there's like 10 of us on there.
Right.
I knew it was purely cost driven exercise. I was the last one on the plane because they had to charge me.
Hmm.
And I just thought, Yeah, it felt horrible from a passenger point of view. Really wasn't good at all.
It can feel maddening to experience that. And I know that there are some airlines that's their chosen business model. And I think, at least
Yeah.
I've experienced this, that it's not even just necessarily ones that declare themselves, hey, we're low cost, so we're going to be a miserable customer experience, or we're full service and therefore it's going to be a positive one. I know in the US, and no names here, but there are some airlines that are both known for being, quote, low cost, or that's a part of their heritage, and yet
Yeah.
they are some of the most delightful customer experiences that are out there because of the employee culture, because of even some of the fun and the shenanigans, maybe the wrong word on a plane, but just the upbeat nature to the way service is delivered. And then there are others that are declare themselves to be, full service airlines, and yet the experience is a miserable one. And it does seem to come back almost to something that you and I were talking about earlier, and that's employee culture,
Yeah.
and how that's going to drive what the nature of the delivery of the customer experience will be. It'll be interesting to see what the airlines and travel industry in general do coming out of the pandemic, because it will bounce back, right? We know it's going to bounce back, and so what does that look like?
Yeah.
Thinking of that, so you with MKL Innovation and everything else, how you weave together CX and innovation, all that, where do you see innovation in the CX space going? What's next?
Oh, I could answer that in so many ways.
Would love to hear them all.
I think, I mean, so I was very much in the tech space, obviously, and we've had a few discussions this week because we're writing a book at the moment about CX and tech,
Okay.
because you don't often see the two go together. Yeah, I think where it could easily go is more and more and more and more and more tech focused, more and
Okay.
more automated. And then you get to that place where you get to, like when you go to a self-checkout and there's unidentified bag in the baggage area, and you just get that pure frustration because you just think, okay, this is tech for tech's sake. There's somebody who's meant to be watching this area who's off chatting over there. They've just left us customers to it.
Okay.
So I think us CX practitioners need to just be really mindful of where tech could go if we don't keep that human side in mind, like chatbots as well, where you just go, right, I've been passed around on an IVR, now I'm on a chatbot, nobody really knows where I am, or there's AI. It's fantastic where it can go, but I think it's just so important to just keep that human-centered piece purely in mind. So for us in innovation, I think it is that co-creation piece, creating alongside the customer what they need and what works in their business, rather than going, oh, but there's all this new shiny tech, don't you want it? Here you go.
Right.
It needs to be, what actually do you need to deliver an amazing customer experience for your customers? Will work with you and give you the tech that you need, rather than something that maybe you think sounds amazing, like, oh, I could throw a digital twin over here, I could have AI, I could have IoT. You could throw in all those buzzwords, but actually you end up with something really complex for customers. So I think it's got to be simple, it's got to be tailored to the customer, but ultimately it's got to be really human-centered and focused.
Oh my goodness, what a brilliant perspective on that. And it does not surprise me one bit that you would close with saying it's got to be human-centered, that even in all the midst of all the tech and everything else, that is great, right? We need it, we love it, it's great that it's coming, but that we have to keep the customer and the human at the center of it. And it surprises me not one bit that that's how you've taken us to closure here. So Sharon, I loved hearing about the approach of gifting and how that affects employee culture, restoring relationships, and what that means for engagement with a brand. Love the hearing certainly about the travel experiences, and you and I do need to check out that magic carpet. So hopefully we'll find that rolling out wider and wider. And absolutely closing with the fact that no matter how technologically advanced we get, we cannot leave the human behind, and have to really consider what that human is. Sharon, this has been a brilliant conversation. I always come away with my talks with you just excited, energized. I'm ready to face the day and ready to take CX forward. Thank you so much for joining us here on CX Passport. It has been a wonderful conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us this week on CX Passport. Make sure to visit our website, cxpassport.com, where you can hit subscribe so you'll never miss a show. While you're at it, you can check out the rest of the EX for CX website. If you're looking to get real about customer experience, EX for CX is available to help you increase revenue by starting to listen to your customers and create great experiences for every customer every time. Thanks for listening to CX Passport, and be sure to tune in for our next episode. Until next time, I'm Rick Denton, and I believe the best meals are served outside and require a passport.